Greetings, and thank you for tuning in to Mr. Story Channel, where you can experience the most fascinating moments on Reddit. It's time for our first story. How can I, 38 female, get my husband, 40 male, to parent our kids again after I stopped his punishment? This is a new account, specifically for this problem I am having with my husband. Let me first say my oldest son is in his last year of high school and is not the biological son of my husband. My husband and I have been married for 14 years now and have 2 other beautiful children together. My oldest son's father is not in the picture. My husband is dad in all respects to my son. All the above said is just to clarify our dynamics. I do love him a lot, as he cares for me and cares for all the kids the same. I have never seen any favoritism of any kind towards another. 2 weeks ago, while me and my husband were on our way home on the highway, a car came speeding past us. My husband asked me if that was our son because it was the exact same car as we bought him. My husband sped up and caught up to the car. I think we were doing 95 when we caught up. Don't quote me on the speed, please. I really only remember my husband saying, "Why on earth is he driving 90? I digress. It was our son driving, and he was on his phone while speeding through traffic. I think he was texting because we could clearly see him having both hands busy with his phone from the opposite lane. I wanted my husband to honk at him, but he said no, that might just cause issues and catch him off guard and cause an accident. When we got home, we parked behind our son. My husband walked into the living room and just held out his hand and said, 'Give me the keys.' My son asked why, and my husband raised his voice, saying, 'Give me the darn keys.' When my son took the keys out of his pocket, my husband grabbed them and told him, 'You are no longer allowed to drive that car,' and he left the room. He looked at me and asked what was going on, and I told him we saw him on the highway, and his eyes got all big, and he struggles to say anything. About an hour later, I heard my husband yell from the kitchen, 'I don't care about your job or school. You can walk, take the bike, or take the bus. I don't care. You will not be driving that car again.' Apparently my son went to him and apologized and asked for the keys back because he needed to get to work. My son came to me a week ago and asked for the keys because he needed to get to work and it was raining. He apologized to me again and said it won't happen again. I relented and gave him the keys, and he went off to work. My husband came home and without saying hello just asked where the car was. I told him that I gave the keys back to our son so that he could get to work. He used the same line on me, saying I told him and you heard me that he isn't allowed to drive anymore and he could have taken the bike, bus, or walked. I told him it was raining, so I gave him the keys. I told him that he apologized and said it would never happen again. My husband cut me off and said an apology won't stop an accident, bring him back from the dead, or bring other people back from the dead. He hasn't learned a thing. I told him I paid for half the car, and it was a gift from us to my son, and I also have a say what happens to it. He looked at me and said, 'Okay, fine. All parental decisions will now fall to you. You are the authority on that. So everything is now in your head.' Since then, my husband hasn't done a single thing for my son or any of the other kids regarding discipline. When they ask for something, he just says, 'Go ask you, mother.' Our kids are having free rein around him, and he just steps over every mess they make. And when I asked him why he didn't stop our younger from writing on walls, he just shrugged and walked off. I tried to talk to him, and he said, 'You got what you asked for. No matter what I do, you seem to be the authority on any decision on our kids, so I just removed the middleman and you can deal with them,' and he walked off. What do I do? How can I get him to help parent our kids again? I am at the end of my rope, and the kids aren't really listening to me like they do to him, but he is just allowing them now to do whatever they want." Edit. Messed up the title. I'm exhausted and can't handle everything alone anymore. Sorry if my post is all over the place. I just need advice. If a question needs to be asked, I will answer in the comments. For the first comment, someone says, "I tried to talk to him, and he said you got what you asked for. No matter what I do, you seem to be the authority on any decision on our kids, so I just removed the middleman, and you can deal with him," and he walked off. OP. This here very clearly indicates that overruling him seems to be a recurring pattern, and his patience has run out. The only way you might be able to get him back on the job is if you actually, for once, start not undermining his parenting. Someone else replied, "So, to be clear, when there is an opportunity to be the good cop, they're your kids. When there is an opportunity to lay down the law, Only then does he get recognition as a co-parent. Very weird dynamic, especially since it seems he is the only one who was bothered by your son threatening the lives of himself and others. I don't know if there is any putting the toothpaste back in the tube on this one. And a third person said, "That's the comment that got me. I paid for half the car. So? What does that matter? Your son committed many illegal acts at once and put countless lives on the line, including your own while he zoomed past you while texting. Who cares who paid for the car?" Well, looks like OPs need a reality check about consequences. What would you do in this situation? Tell me in the comments section. If you are enjoying these stories, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. This helps a lot. Thanks. And for our next story, is my 26 female relationship with my 29 male boyfriend over after this incident? I'll change all the names for privacy. I have been dating my boyfriend, Miles, for just over a year. Miles is an architect, passionate about his work, constantly sketching and dedicating time to his craft. Overall, our relationship has been great. I genuinely thought he was the one. Recently, though, something happened. A few months ago, Miles introduced me to Ava at a mutual friend's birthday party. I'd heard about her before, and now I got to meet her. She was funny and, surprisingly, stylish. As a fashion buyer, we ended up chatting about trends and what's in right now. I never felt weird about her, even though she and Miles have been friends for years. I was sort of glad she was in his life. She seemed like a good influence compared to some of his other friends. But lately, Miles has been more secretive with his phone, always tilting it away from me. I didn't say anything at first because I didn't want to be that girlfriend. Last week, I was at his place when his mom showed up, saying her car battery had died and she needed help jump-starting it. Miles rushed out, saying it wouldn't take long. He left his phone behind on the coffee table, screen down. I kept myself busy scrolling through TikTok, but his phone started buzzing repeatedly. I'm not insecure, so I wouldn't snoop through my boyfriend's phone, but I couldn't shake my anxiety. After hesitating, I picked up his phone. All I saw were just work messages, making me feel stupid for snooping. But then I checked everything, including the gallery. What I saw made my heart drop. Explicit photos of Ava. Some looked professional, while others seemed spontaneous, but they were all sexual. I felt like throwing up. When Miles returned, I couldn't hold back. "Why do you have photos of Ava naked on your phone?" His reaction was strange. He didn't freak out or deny it. Instead, he just stared, then said, "It's not what you think." He insisted, "It's nothing and you're overreacting," never addressing my concerns. Eventually, he got defensive, making me feel wrong for invading his privacy. I just decided there and then that I should leave. He's been texting nonstop, but I'm too angry to respond. I can't stop thinking about those photos and can't eat without feeling sick. Why Ava? Why was she sending him that stuff? Why was he even saving them? He can't think I'm that dumb not to find out. Is this salvageable? What am I supposed to do now? And we have an update for this post 3 days later. First of all, thank you to everyone who reached out to me privately or responded to my original post. Whether you were understanding or trying to give me a reality check, I genuinely appreciate all of it. I know many of you advised against reaching out to him, but I decided to do it anyway. I texted him, there were tons of unanswered messages, and it wasn't too long before he responded. I invited him to a cafe we used to get bagels from every Saturday morning to make him feel nostalgic and sad about throwing away our sweet tradition, and partly because I felt a public space would force us to keep things civil. He tried hugging me when he came, but I just wanted to get straight to the point. The explanation he gave me was honestly confusing. Apparently, he and Ava had dated a few years ago, and he thought I'd make him drop her as a friend if I found out. He went on to say that he had deleted her nudes, but because of some storage issue, they were still on his iPad. And when his phone synced with the iPad, the photos got downloaded onto his phone. This felt like a huge reach, but I decided to play along with it until the next day, when I decided to start my own investigation. I found Ava on Instagram through Miles' following list, messaged her, and asked her to get the story straight. After about 30 minutes, Ava responded with, "We never dated." Shortly after getting Ava's message, I called her and gave her all the facts. She was absolutely petrified. She said he could not possibly have her nudes. I tried to describe the photos from what I remembered, but she reassured me that not only did she not take pictures like that, there was also no possibility they existed in the first place. I was cautious, but her reaction was convincing. At that point, I felt like I was going insane. I said goodbye to Ava because this was too much for both of us. I went straight to his house. When he let me in, I demanded answers and told him to stop bullshit guy. That's when he broke down and admitted the truth. He made AI-generated photos with her face. He mumbled something about it being a mistake, but I stopped listening. I just needed to leave. Avoiding his pathetic attempts to touch or comfort me, I left his place, took an Uber home, and spent the rest of the night crying. He's been blocked everywhere. He won't be reaching me again. After I informed Ava about the vile things he had done, she started tearing up. She cried. I cried. It was a mess. I kept apologizing to her. It felt like I had some part in this horrible situation. The rest will stay private, but I'll be supporting Ava with whatever she decides to do with this information. I'm just glad it's over. My friend will be staying over for a few days to help me get through it all. Thank you to everyone who shared kind words and cared. I'm still figuring things out, but I'll be okay. I must say, I wasn't expecting this. What do you think that Opie and Ava should do in this situation? And for our next history, am I the jerk for continuing to wear makeup and dress in my normal style around a friend who thinks her husband has a crush on me? My 29 female friend, 31 female, has told me that her husband, 35 male, has a crush on me and has recently told her that he fantasizes over me. This already makes me feel very awkward, but now she has asked if I can stop wearing makeup and wear baggy clothes around him. We went out for dinner last night at a reasonably expensive restaurant with a few others, 7 of us in total, and she texted me when I got home, saying she was angry at me for looking hot after she asked me to not wear makeup. She's my friend, and I want to do the right thing, but there's nothing I could wear that is baggy that would have suited the restaurant we were in, Michelin star. My style is very conservative, and I was wearing a very average dress with heels. I've written out several responses ranging from an apology to being quite rude, but wanted to sense-check my thoughts here before I go back to her. I don't want to make life difficult for her, but what she's asking for feels unreasonable. Edit 1. Thank you so much for all of your responses. It's 4:21 a.m. here in the UK, so I will write out and send a response tomorrow and will update you all on here. Sorry I can't respond to everyone. I didn't expect so many responses. Edit 2. While I was reading your responses, he just liked an old Instagram pic from way back, a bikini pic. He is now blocked. Final update. Edit 3. I responded with the following. Sorry it's taken me a while to reply, but I wanted to consider this properly and not react emotively. I'm sorry you feel that way, but I don't think it's fair or reasonable to ask me to change how I look because of your husband. My advice is to speak to husband's name and work on your relationship because projecting your issues onto me isn't going to help you, but it will damage our friendship. You have nothing to be insecure about. You're the most beautiful person inside and out I've ever met. I'm here for you if you want to talk through it, but ultimately I can't help it if I'm smoking hot. Just kidding. 5 minutes after I pressed send, she knocked on my door. She was already on her way, with a bunch of flowers and cried and gave me a hug while apologizing. She told me they were having problems, and it was wrong of her to take it out on me. We've had a long chat, and I'm going to be there to support my friend. Thank you all for your input. You all helped so much. And for our next story, am I the jerk for telling my mom it's time to lawyer up? My mom moved in after she sold her home to avoid medical bankruptcy. Things have been rocky because my mom was always my house, my rules type of person. I have an older brother, Scott, who helped my mom with home repairs. But Scott and my wife do not get along, so he doesn't come over much. Me and my wife went away for a weekend getaway, and Scott and my mom repainted our living room white. It was navy with built-in bookcases and pantry. The job done was so awful, and the original paint job with the bookcase cost us thousands to remodel. My wife started crying, and my mom and brother said they wanted to brighten the place up for my mom. I didn't know this at the time, but my wife called my sister-in-law, my wife's brother wife, who is a lawyer, and the contractor who originally did the work on our living room remodel. My wife is getting ready to press suit against my mother and Scott, and has already handed my mom a legal eviction notice. It's deserved, And I back it 100% because this paint job was done so shabby and without the homeowner's permission. My mom is saying with an eviction for property damage, she will not be able to find a place, and my wife needs to stop. My wife has installed cameras in the home and is getting the court orders in place for my mom and brother. My wife's family is paying for this, and at this point I'm afraid to say anything because I feel like if I protest too much, the big divorce will come. And with my wife's SIL as a lawyer, I don't want to mess with the situation because it's a shit show. My brother told me my mom has rights, and I said I guess it's time for my mom to lawyer up on her dime because I'm not touching this and it's my wife's lawyers pushing things through. I did sign off on the lawsuit and possible criminal charges coming. My mom said she would contest the eviction, and I need to man up and make my wife do the right thing and drop the eviction and lawsuit. I'm doubting myself about this. I appreciate any advice. Thanks. It looks like Opie is in an extremely difficult situation. Tell me in the comments what you think is the right course of action here. Am I in the wrong for calling my wife out for never doing the hard chores? My wife, 40 female, and I, 39 male, have been married for 7 years and have 2 kids, 4 and 2. We both work full-time but have different schedules. I work a standard Monday to Friday 40-hour week. My wife's job requires her to work Saturdays, so she takes random days off during the week to compensate. Both our kids are in daycare during the week. When my wife takes a day off during the week, she will get chores done like cleaning, shopping, laundry, etc., which is great that she can get that stuff done on her off days. But these are things that can also be done on the weekend. She will leave other, more labor-intensive chores for me to do on the weekend. We have a 1-acre yard, so there is always yard work to be done, and it is nearly impossible for me to do that kind of work on Saturdays when she's at work and I have the kids. I've talked to her numerous times about doing yard work on her days off when I'm at work and the kids are in daycare, but she refuses because it's too hard. Which, yeah, I know. I'm the only one who does it. It's even harder when you're chasing around 2 kids. This means that I have to spend pretty much my entire Sunday doing yard work. Every single week. We've argued because she gets a work and kid-free day to herself to get things done. But she picks the easiest chores and leaves the hard ones for me to do on my one remaining weekend day. I work Monday to Friday, then have the kids by myself all day Saturday. I just want to spend some time on Sunday watching football and relaxing, but I can't because of the yard work. This past week, my wife took Thursday off and got some chores done. When I got home with the kids that night, she made some comments that pissed me off. She kept saying, "We still need to mow the lawn this weekend. We need to trim some bushes and trees and bring the brush to the yard waste site. I think we should rake up all the fallen pine needles and pine cones to use as fire starters." I snapped at her and asked her which of those things she was going to do, since she kept saying we. She got defensive and said that she is going to be watching the kids so that I can get that stuff done. I told her that I think she is using the word we incorrectly then, because it sounds like I'm going to be the one doing all of it. She then went off about all the things she got done on her day off. When I told her that I could do all of those things on Saturday, even with the kids, she refused to do any of the hard stuff. I then asked her if she could tell me the last day she had the kids by herself when I wasn't home. She couldn't answer and called me a jerk. I told her if I can learn to fold a fitted sheet, then she can learn how to use a rake, a lawnmower, a weed whip, etc. I also told her that I am going to start planning things for myself on weekends so that I have my own time, even if it means hiring a sitter. She thinks I'm overreacting and expecting too much of her because the yard work is hard. So, am I the jerk for wanting hard chores evenly split between me and my wife? And for our last story of today, am I the jerk for telling my current stepdad he doesn't have a special role in my wedding? My current stepdad has been in my 27 female life since I was 10. This is when my mom married him. I never knew my biological father, but the man I call my dad was my first stepdad technically. He actually adopted me when I was 5. We met when I was only 6 months old, and he died when I was 8. And to me, he has always been my dad. Not the bio, who didn't want to raise me, and not my current stepdad. This was always a point of contention with my current stepdad. He wanted me to accept him as the new dad in my life. And the fact Dad wasn't my biological dad was the biggest reason why he felt like it should be no big deal. But I was protective of Dad's memory and the fact that blood wasn't what made him my dad. So I never liked how my stepdad acted about it. My mom tried to help, but she made it worse. She acted like Dad could be replaced because he died and really made me question whether she truly loved him or whether she saw people as only important while they were alive. And once they're gone, welp, move on to the next one. I know spouses and parents are different, but my mom spoke like you just discard the dead. There was a lot of him chasing a relationship with me that was dad and daughter, and him getting mad that I was still bringing up my dad, and then I didn't want him to even talk to me. I didn't want to build up a relationship with him and resented the pressure from both to just accept the new dad. It was a very messy time. My relationship with them now is more civil, but I don't have too much respect for them and still dislike how they handled him coming into my life and the relationship they wanted me to have with him, as well as the disregard for my dad. This all boils over now because I'm getting married and I chose, for my own peace of mind, to not have the normal walk down the aisle or father/daughter dance. He was expecting to be offered those things to be asked to fill in as father of the bride. And he approached me about it, which is when I told him I wasn't doing either at my wedding. He then started ranting about what his special role is supposed to be, and I said he didn't have a special role and that neither he nor my mom had one. He said my dad gets one. That dad gets a whole ass seat for his photo even though he's dead, and that I can't even give him, stepdad, a spot in my wedding after 17 years. Then he asked if it was about money and whether I wanted him to pay for the wedding. I said no. I want my wedding to be my way. He told me he deserves better, but I kept firm in my decision. Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in and watching until the end. Your support means the world to me. If you enjoyed what you saw and want to stay updated on future content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know when I release new videos, and you'll be helping to support my channel. So, go ahead and click that subscribe button, and let's keep this journey going together. Thanks again for your support.